Welcome to the Graybeard Chronicles podcast. Your hosts, Brian Halstead and Kevin Harkins, are two gray-bearded patriots who love God, their family and friends, and their country. The Graybeards are here to inspire, inform, and educate you on a myriad of topics they are passionate about. Brian and Kevin have a strong desire to share this with you to help you live your best life. Sit back and enjoy this amazing podcast as the Graybeards pass along the wisdom of the ages.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. I'm Brian Halstead.
And I'm Kevin Harkins.
And Kevin, we're here to pass along some wisdom of the ages. What the heck does that mean?
We're not perfect, but we do have gray beards. And that means we've got some significant life experience, some life lessons, and some perspectives that are worthy of passing along.
Well, I think that sums it up nicely. Let's get to it. Kevin, what is going on, mister?
Hello, Brian. How are you?
I am well, thank you. I think,
learned something.
What'd you learn?
A couple things. First of all, thanks for indulging me on my alternative location today. And there might be an occasional technological delay. It looks like in our warm-up, we have a couple of that. So just bear with me and give it a second or two, and I'm sure it'll all catch up. So that's thing number one that I learned. Thing number two I learned is I really like you. You're fun to be around. Your recording studio is amazing. But you know what? This is freaking awesome.
Yeah, so for those of you that are only listening to the audio version and not watching the video of this, you didn't have the benefit of seeing Kevin pointing over his shoulder to the beautiful view of the ocean behind him. He is secluded in an unknown tropical location currently, undisclosed anyways. And so we had to change it up a little bit today, but I certainly miss having you sitting over here. And but I don't blame you. I think if I had my choice, I'd be there with you.
Yeah, we're actually kind of doing a half work, half vacation getaway down in Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, and it's
the undisclosed part.
Well, yeah, I won't give you anything more than that. But as you and I talked about briefly on the phone, we discovered, not knowing it, that it was the tail end of Bike Week when we arrived on Saturday night. And I've never seen so many clubs and bikes all on a very short, mile stretch of road.
Made you miss me, didn't it?
It did. I actually thought of you. I thought of all of you and all of your brothers and sisters that are part of Strength and Honor. And I had very good feelings about it all. And I ended up chatting with one of the bikers at the gas station. If we were fortunate enough to get gas, considering we're still in the gas crisis as a result of the hack. There you go. That'll place this particular podcast at a place in time, won't it?
Yes, it will.
And ended up having a great conversation with one of the bikers who had this totally, completely pimped out Harley, which was, way more than you need to enjoy the ride. But I would put it this was his passion, and it was a work of art.
Very cool.
Yeah. It's not the kind of bike, though, you get on and ride all day and then camp and then ride all day the next day. It wasn't one of those.
Yeah. Ride it for a few minutes and then go wash it and polish it and then.
That's right. But it was cool. It was very cool. Anyway, yeah, we're here. Been here for about 24 hours, and we're off to a good start on this particular getaway, and we'll enjoy the rest of it for sure.
Very cool. Well, have a great time while you're down there. So what are we talking about tonight or today or whatever time it is?
Yeah, I got to look at the exact title.
Tonight out of habit, but it's not quite tonight yet.
We some of the things that we are talking about now, because we've been doing it for 90, how many? 8? Is this 98?
98 episodes.
98 episodes. There are some themes that keep popping up, and we're coming at them from different angles, and this falls into that category. And the title of tonight's podcast, which I have chosen, is called Turn the Page and Keep Moving Forward. That's it. Turn the page and keep moving forward.
That's a very cool title. The first thing I thought about when you sent that to me, though, was Bob Seger, right? Turn the page.
Yep.
And no, that's a cool title, though, and I think you're spot on that it certainly corresponds or complements a lot of the other things that we've talked about on previous podcasts. So it's certainly reinforcing those themes of a certain way to go about thinking and living and doing.
If you're growing and learning and changing and advancing, what you realize is this opportunity to turn the page on any number of issues presents itself every single day. And the reason that I like this particular title was because the first part of it is turn the page. And turning the page is a physical act. It's tactile. You can feel it. You're literally turning the page, which means what was there is no longer there. It's gone. It's in the past. And there's something to that. There's something to the physical nature of actually turning the page and realizing that I'm done with that. It's over. I'm continuing on to see what comes next in this book. And then the next part is keep moving forward, keep reading. And that metaphor applied to relationships, applied to your job, applied to your own personal development, applied to your incredible successes and all the good that's come from it, applied to your incredible failures and all of the bad that's come from that. There's just, you can, I've already planted several seeds there, any one of which we could head down and spend a whole bunch of time talking about. But I love the concept. So there you go.
Yeah, I do too. And when you sent the title to me the other day, or the topic, I was thinking about the many different directions that you could go with that. And you just covered many of those when you're talking about, how it pertains to your relationships or work or anything you're doing really. And I love the fact that you're, physically turning the page like you talked about. And the cool thing about it is, it's not like super glue on the pages. So, one of the things I've always said is learn from the past, don't live in it, and don't let it, let it inform, let it inform the future and the decisions that you'll make moving forward, but don't let it paralyze you or negatively impact the future. And so, when you're physically turning that page, the page isn't stuck together so that you can't ever go and look back again, because sometimes you might want to glance back and review what it said. And that's kind of like glancing back and reviewing things that have happened in your life when new opportunities and decisions are in front of you that, you can go back to those past experiences and maybe use those to inform those future or present decisions.
Yeah. You said something that I remember very, very distinctly the time. I'm not going to remember the exact words. So you got to help me out with it. Probably 50 podcasts ago, I'm not, maybe even more than that, might have been 80 podcasts ago.
Right.
You made the comment about not moving on, but from some sort of situation that you're in. You don't want to move on, you want to move forward. There was some distinction that you made. Do you remember what it was that you said?
Yeah, that's in the podcast that has to do with grief and
okay.
how you deal with grief and the fact that one of the most cruel or insensitive things that you can say to someone that is going through a grieving process is you just need to move on.
Right.
No, that's not what you want to do, because moving on can land on, saying that to somebody can land on them like you're saying, forget about that person that has passed, that you have lost, it's over and done with, move on. Yeah, that's not the way that you should think about it. It's a moving forward thing, moving forward,
Right.
having those experiences, feeling the loss and so on, and moving forward with those memories and so on. So yeah, it's very much a different way to look at it and a different mindset, I think, that it creates, and ultimately a different outcome as a result.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I wanted to make sure that I considered that and thought about it as I was developing several of the examples that I'm going to talk about as we talk through this today. But I couldn't agree with you more. And your earlier comments just a minute or two ago about wanting to learn from the past and not get trapped and get stuck in the past and don't live there. And that's, again, turn the page. It's gone. Another thing that another concept that applies to this whole area that we're talking about is the idea of living in the moment. You know, yesterday is gone. We've turned the page. It was interesting. It was good. We learned. It's like when you're reading a book, you got a lot of good information out of that, but it's gone. Don't live there. You know, look at what's right in front of you right now and keep reading, keep walking forward, keep moving forward to continue to deal with that. And the reason for me that this is so relevant at this point in time is just because in my own life, there are so many interesting things that are going on. Honestly, many of them, I don't know how they're going to turn out ultimately. I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, you know, in some of the work things that I'm working on. I have a vision, and I know what I want it to be like, but that's tomorrow, right? And tomorrow never comes. So you want to set some goals and strive for that, but you don't want to get stuck there either. You don't want to be a dreamer. All you do is dream about what's going on in the future.
Right.
And you don't want to live in the past, right in the moment. Just keep chipping away at it.
Yeah, and there's it makes sense what you're saying because you don't hold all the cards. There are other people involved in those equations, and you don't while you don't control what they do or say or how they respond to stuff. And I know we've talked about this in the last couple of podcasts, and I've had some great feedback on that formula of E plus R equals O. And again, that's something that absolutely applies. You don't hold all the cards. You're not going to control all the events that occur. You're going to be able to control what you do in response to those events, and that's going to dictate the outcome. And those responses, I think, will be somewhat evidenced by your vision that you hold. The direction that you see this going, and where you want to end up. So that's going to inform those decisions that you make to create those outcomes that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And
go ahead. Yeah.
Another thing that came to mind while we're talking about this is the whole concept of, you can't, if you think about driving and, when you're driving, your focus needs to be forward, eyes down the road and around you, left and right to see what's going on and be paying attention there. And I'd say, 80-90% of your focus needs to be in those directions, forward looking and paying attention to things that may be going on in your periphery. Very little of your focus needs to be on the rear view mirror and what's behind you, because those things are done. They're back there. And while, if you're using that and you want to get technical about the driving thing, could there be some hazards that come at you from the rear? Yes. Are there rear end collisions that occur? Yes. Okay. Technically. But ultimately, I think you get what I'm saying. So, you got to pay attention to where you're going, because that's what's going to cause a problem for you. If you're spending too much time looking in the rear view mirror, you're going to run into something that you didn't see.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And I know that everybody listening can relate to the concept of dwelling on something that you've done, or dwelling on something that somebody has said, or maybe it's a mistake that you've made, or again, even if it's a success, you can get yourself in trouble there too. I think of the movie Napoleon Dynamite. And do you remember what was the football player uncle's name? Uncle Rico, I think. Was it Rico?
Yeah, you got me on that. I honestly don't know if I've ever sat down and watched that movie start to finish.
You got to watch that movie.
All right.
So Uncle Rico is Napoleon's older uncle, and the whole movie he is living in the past. He's living his high school football glory days, and that is weaved into every scene that he is in throughout the show. And you, after a while, you just start to laugh, because he probably wasn't even that good. In his mind, he was, but in the reality of the movie, he probably wasn't that good. But anyway, just like you can get stuck on bad things and really dwell on them and the problem with that is when it's a bad thing, a mistake, a bad decision that you've made, and you dwell on it over and over again, saps you of your energy. You get sad, you can get angry, you can really get down on yourself. And what do you do when you're in that state? Nothing. You just sit there. Or even worse, you start the downward spiral, right? Things get really bad. Yeah, you don't want to deal with that. You got to keep moving forward. You got to let that go. You got to turn the page, and you got to keep moving forward. Good, bad, or ugly, it's all in the past. And
Yeah. What do they say? Don't let a yesterday ruin a today or tomorrow.
yeah. And I've said this to many people. I think I've even said it on the podcast. One of the things that I love about life is that we can, any one of us, no matter who you look at, who you are, where you are, you take a stake, take a hammer, and you pound the stake into the ground right where you're at. This is where you are, right here, right now. Okay, it's done. Doesn't matter how you got here. Doesn't matter all of the circumstances and everything. This is where you are. You can forget everything that happened behind you. Now, how am I going to go forward? How am I going to change my life at this moment to go forward? And you can make a decision right this minute to decide to go forward in a different way, to try to go forward in a better way. And that's the concept that we're trying to deal with here. Everything that's in the past is in the past. We are where we are. Now let's move forward in the most productive way that we can. Learning from the past, not living there.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about the comments that you made about the movie Napoleon Dynamite. I definitely want to go and watch it now because
Yeah,
thinking about that and how jacked up might your current existence be, the here and now, be when you're living on your past successes or past failures, either
Yeah.
one. So neither one of those is going to bring you the fulfillment that you need in your life now to continue to motivate you and inspire you to move forward and seek out greater accomplishments and so on. Yeah, that'd be a bad place to get stuck in, no doubt.
And the truth is, life is going to knock us down, even when we're on a roll, even when things are going well, even when we're making good decisions and we're motivated and we're working hard. Things are going to hit us. They're going to knock us down. But if you are the kind of person who knows where you're wanting to go, you have a vision, you have some goals, it makes it much easier to pop up again, which is the key, right? You get knocked down 7 times, you get up 8, and you keep going, you keep moving forward. And another thought that just popped in my mind, which we've talked about dozens of times, is the fact that you don't have to make these big leaps forward when you're trying to make progress and move on. It can be little teeny tiny baby steps. Just chip away a little bit. Get better,
Right.
get better.
Forward progress
Get
is
better.
forward progress. Yep. You don't have to get a first
That's
down
right.
with 10 yards every time.
Yeah.
You can just get a few here and there, and they add up.
They add up. They add up every little bit. Do you remember when we were talking about, I think we did a podcast on it, leverage, the most powerful force in the world, which is time. And if you have a mentality that you're going to be moving forward and you realize that time in this case is your friend, and I write these down, I actually want to read them. Time gets things done. Time heals wounds. Time changes things. Time changes your environment. Time changes your outlook. Time makes progress. Those are the kind of things that if you decide to embrace time and make it work for you, again, you a little bit every day, you wake up a year from now and you realize how far you've traveled, even just taking these little teeny tiny baby steps. And that's the moving forward part of the equation.
Yeah, and you think about time, that clock doesn't stop. It keeps turning. The second hand just keeps on going. And then the big hands turn with it. But you can sit still. Well, no, you really can't, right? So I think you're either dying or you're moving forward. I mean,
I think you're right.
We're ultimately all dying as it is, right? I mean, that's a sad but true fact about life is, none of us are getting out of it alive. And so, you have to make a decision. How do you want to spend that time? Does it want, do you want to spend it in a way that, lifts you up, fills you up, and adds quality to your life and the lives of other people? Or do you want to, get stuck in situations and have a negative outlook because you didn't like the way this turned out and so on? Or are you willing to just turn that page and move on to the next thing, or the next part of that thing that you're working on? Because it doesn't, just because something that's a part of a scenario you're working on doesn't go right, doesn't mean the whole scenario is a wash. You
That's
figure
right.
out ways around it. You can have the greatest vision in the world and the greatest plan on how to get there, and there's going to be things that crop up that you didn't anticipate, and you have to be prepared to, see those obstacles, identify them when they present themselves, and figure out what the workaround is going to be to continue towards that vision or that goal that you've set out there.
Yeah. I love talking about this stuff, and another thing that just popped to mind, you and I mostly off air about how much we get out of doing these podcasts, just because of how much they help us personally, and all the concepts that we take time to do some research on and think about, and then it positively impacts our own lives. But there's one concept that you have said a number of times. I think this is another one we did a podcast on, which I have adopted, and I love it. And that is, everybody has 24 hours in a day. That's it. And you just have to decide for you individually, what am I going to do with the next 24 hours? And you're not going to do a year's worth of work in 24 hours. You might do 24 hours worth of work in 24 hours. You might do 20 hours of worth of work, but you get to decide how you're going to move forward, what you're going to focus on, and that becomes a matter of values and priorities, right? What is it about life that you value? What is it about your priorities that you have stacked them just so? And now, how am I going to move forward, and how am I going to spend these 24 hours? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I love the you calling that out about, there's 24 hours in a day. That's it. There's no more, there's no less. And I'm also a believer that, time management is bullshit. There's no such thing.
You said that before, yeah.
Yeah, there's no such thing as time management. There's priority management, because there's only a given amount of time. You can't manage it. There's going to be the same amount tomorrow there was today. The only thing that you can manage or deal with is how you decide to use that time and what you're going to do during that time. And that's a prioritization type exercise, not a time management exercise, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. So I agree with all of that. I just wanted to point out one little technical error that you made in your statement, and that is, the days are not actually exactly the same length. There's like a fraction of a second that's different every day. That's why you have to have a leap day and a leap year to make up.
Yeah. So let me update my comment to say there are approximately 24 hours in every day. They might be.
Can't even believe it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and on those days that you're sitting in a location like you are, you certainly wish there's like 28 or more hours in a day, right?
That's right. Yeah. And so here's another thought that I had about all of this, about moving forward. All of us can get in a situation where we find ourselves very anxious about wanting to move forward quickly, or wanting to move forward aggressively, or wanting to move forward in some sort of direction that maybe isn't exactly what we want to do. Somebody else maybe wants us to do it. And what I would say to that is, and this I can tell you, and I have the scars on this one as well. I have scars on all this stuff. I really do. But one of them is, go in your own direction and go at your own pace. If you don't do that, if you don't go at your pace, be quick, but don't hurry. Try to move in a direction that you need to be going, but you naturally can go in at your own pace, and everybody's pace is different. And if you start trying to adapt and adopt somebody else's pace and somebody else's direction, it's the road to hell. You're going to wake up one day and realize you're not where you wanted to be, and you're not either as far along, or you're way too far out front, that you're like on on a set of downhill skis going down out of control, not have an idea how this is all going to turn out. Those are all of the go at your own pace, and don't worry. You be you. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing.
Right. You're put on this earth as a unique creature, and don't be one that tries to, conform to what everybody else is doing. You're here. You're unique. Create your own path. Be you. Be who God put whoever you believe your creator is. Be who that entity intended for you to be.
Yeah. The unique thing, working in a brewery and owning a brewery, that is I was just distracted by Paula. Anyway,
Yeah, thanks for not giving us the detail on what distracted you. Your your expression was telling.
Oh Lord, am I blushing? Anyway, where was I talking about?
Squirrel.
I trained of thought on that one.
Yeah.
Yes. I really did. I lost. I'm totally gone. What was I talking about? Whatever it was really good.
I'm lost right there with you, man.
Okay.
You took me with you.
All right. Well, let me go back to my notes. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the issue of regret for a second. I think regret is a natural, human instinct, a natural human emotion. You do something and you either immediately or long-term, you regret it. Regret can also be a totally incredibly debilitating and negatively powerful force in your life. And I'm not saying, oh my God, if you regret something, that's horrible. I'm not saying that. I think we all do things and have done things in the past that we regret. But don't stay there. Don't hold that and harbor that and let that turn into a much bigger thing. The regret is this big. Deal with it and move forward, right? Turn the page. You've done it. It's over. You can't take it back. And now move forward. And so I think that's an area that is particularly toxic for folks. I see you smiling. I don't know why, but maybe you thought of something.
Yeah. So when you started, regret is one of the things I wanted to talk about. And when you started that, whenever I hear somebody say no regrets, I think about those images of tattoos that you've gone wrong, that you see out there. It's no regrets. Yeah. I mean, that sums it up right there. And I think that, living life with regret is unhealthy. Again, it's living life like driving down the road, looking in the rearview mirror. It's not something that's productive. If you look in the mirror every day and you can, honestly say that you love that person that's looking back at you, which you should be able to say. And if you're not able to say that, then I think there's some work to be done to figure out why. And what's causing you not to be able to say that about yourself? Why, is it a self-esteem issue, or there's some things that you've done that you haven't forgiven yourself for? And there's lots of different ways to work through that. But I just, you gotta be at a position where, in your life, where you can look in the mirror and say, looking right at yourself, and not in a weird way, but, have that, feeling that, dude, I love you, man.
Right.
And that's not a braggadocious thing, or, I just think that's a way you need to be in your life. Because when you don't feel that way about yourself, you can't truly serve others and be as much as you could possibly be to other people in relationships that you're having in your life. So, yeah. And that's, so talking about turning the page and moving on, if you are one of those people that aren't having that experience where you can say that about yourself in the mirror, then, figure out what those anchors are that are holding you back and causing you not be able to say that. And, it may be things that you have done or been involved in, and there's absolutely nothing that you can do to undo them. The only thing that you could do is make different choices going forward as a result of having had those experiences. And so, it may be something as simple as, forgiving yourself. And, how do you do that? Well, you can, declare that. You can say it out loud, or you can, write yourself a letter. I mean, there's different ways that you can go about it, but that's ultimately, it's time to move forward and get past that, because, again, you're letting the yesterday ruin a today or tomorrow. And you've got to get to a point in your life where you can look in a mirror and have that feeling and be comfortable where you are, and know that, I mean, sure, have I done things that, I wish maybe I hadn't done or had done differently? Yeah, I think everybody's going to say that. And at the same time, if I had the opportunity to go back and change them, I wouldn't. And the reason I wouldn't is because all of those things, both good and bad, that occurred in my past are things that made me who I am today. And I am comfortable with who I am today. So,
So
maybe that was a little bit of a rant, but
no, that was
that's
good.
the way I feel about regret. It's unhealthy.
About 3 minutes ago, you said something that I wanted to: service to others. And then the second one, I just lost it. I was going to comment on the very last thing. It's gone. Anyway, you during that a minute or two that you were chatting, that you used was being of others. And oh my goodness, I could not agree more. This is one of the things I think that can help people who are stuck. And that is, we would say to you, I would say to you, ultimately, you got to get to the point where you love yourself enough to want to move forward. But some people, they just, at least at this moment, can't get there. They're not going to. It's too hard. And so take a mental step that says, all right, I'm stuck. I'm regretting. I'm not liking myself. I'm not happy about what happened. I'm not happy about what has been done. I'm not happy about how this turned out. But I can't be of service to others until I figure out a way to move past this. And so don't think about yourself for a minute. Think about other people. How can I serve the people who are close to me and who love me and who I need to be accountable to? I've got to pass this so that I can serve those people and help those people and move forward in that way. And then hopefully that leads to the point where you can get back to dealing with yourself, making yourself better, and getting to the point where you love yourself enough to want to make the change. But if you can't, then think about others and do it for them initially.
Yeah, man. Thank you for calling that out. That's a great point, because you can't serve others if you're walking around, dragging those anchors of things that have occurred in your past that you don't feel good about. And yeah. So if you can't do it for yourself, do it for those people that you care about, because, you're not being all you can be to them, and not bringing everything to the table to contribute to that relationship and to add to the quality of their lives when you're, dragging those anchors around. So
yeah.
You got a way to let them go. Cut the rope.
Yeah, I'm gonna look over here and see if there's anything else I wanted to make sure that we talked about. Oh yeah, okay. And maybe this is one of my final thoughts on this, but again, back to another concept, which just reminds me there's nothing new under the sun, and all these things come up over and over again. But when you get stuck like that, when you get to the point you're living in the past and you're down and you're out, what you're doing, again, we've said it before, is you're giving control, your life and your circumstance and your mentality, to this external force that is outside of you that you can't do anything to undo. You are giving control away of your life, giving away control of your life, to an external entity. That's also never a good thing long term. Of course, is it going to happen here and there? You bet it is. But look, each one of us created by God to live our lives the way that He intended for us to live, in a unique way. And everybody likes unique. We know it. Every time we put out a new beer that's new and different, everybody wants to come to the brew house and taste it because it's unique. It's different. Each one of us as individual humans is different and unique, and that will attract people. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So one of the things that's going through my mind when you're talking about that, and I wanted to call out, is the fact that we've said many times that failure is just a milestone on the way to a successful outcome, and you don't need to get wrapped around the fact that this didn't get done right, because fact of life is, public service announcement here is, you're gonna fuck shit up, you're gonna make bad
Yeah.
decisions, and things are not always going to turn out the way you want them to, and that doesn't mean that you get stuck and depressed and down on yourself about how that happened. No, it just chalk that up to knowing, okay, well, I wasn't sure how that was going to work, but I know it's not going to work that way, and now I need to do it a different way, and keep moving forward towards achieving whatever it is that you were setting out to achieve to begin with. Failure is just a learning process, I think.
Failure is a learning process, and that, right, you, by saying that, you reminded me of the incredible thought that I was going to share earlier. It slipped my mind, and that was your comment where you said, I look back at some of the things I've done, and I probably regret that, at least for a moment or two, or maybe longer, that I did that, but I wouldn't change anything. First time I heard somebody say that, because you're not the first person I've heard it, but you're the most recent, and you said it in a way that got through to me. And that's what happens a lot of times when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and you appeared. And you taught me this, but the question being, why wouldn't I do it over? And you said, because that molded and shaped it. Have some more wine, Kevin. No, seriously, I recently went through a work-related issue where I looked back and I said, wow, man, that was not a good decision. I wish I wouldn't have done that. But you know what? I'll never make that mistake again, because I learned from it. I went through some pain and some discomfort, and I probably wouldn't have learned that lesson, that valuable lesson that I will never forget, because I went through that process. And there you go.
That's when learning gets sticky, when you create that emotional response, whether it's a good one or a bad one. Either way, it's going to stick with you. And and the cool thing about it is it sticks with you, and it informs decisions in the future that will cause you to do things differently to avoid that pain, if it were pain that was associated with it, and repeat the pleasure, if it was something positive.
Right. Yeah, so there you go. I think it's worth people spending some time and taking some time to think about this whole concept of, I got to keep moving forward. I can't stay stuck. Another good metaphor is the person who's on the train track. If you're stuck, if you're just standing there in the same position, eventually the train's going to come along and run you over. Life is going to come along and run you over. And you got to move. You got to keep moving forward to get off of that. Maintain situational awareness. Learn from what you've gone through and what you've done before, but turn the page. It's in the past, and keep moving forward. There you go.
Life is a journey, and journey in and of itself causes you to think about movement, and
Right.
you can't be on a journey standing still, thinking about what you didn't do right or not knowing where to go next. You got to keep moving, and that's part of turning the page and moving forward.
Yeah, there you go. So thank you for indulging me on this topic, and even reviewing it today and talking about it right now has made me continue to want to move forward in many different areas of my life, and I'm glad we chatted about it. And I hope,
me too.
Hope folks listening get something out of it.
Yeah, it's one of those cool topics that you can just pick up anywhere and have a conversation with somebody about.
Right.
It's almost, I hesitate to say the whole common sense thing, because we we all know that common sense isn't really all that common in many cases, and at the same time, that's really what it is. Just thinking about this in a common sense, logical train of thought, and understanding that thinking about the past and living in the past, and not being able to just turn that page and move forward and move on to bigger and better things, and focus on what you do have control over. You want to walk around thinking that everybody knows that that's the way you need to operate. And at the same time, we all know through personal experiences, but both our own personal experiences and watching other people do it, that it isn't something that is all that common. Emotions get involved, and sometimes you need things to shake you out of that funk that you get in. And the cool thing is when you learn how to do that for yourself. You learn what the triggers are that get you there, and then you learn what the solutions are to get you out of that and keep you moving forward. And that's all about becoming, self-actualized and identifying those things and being aware.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the circumstances in life that sort of remind you about this topic is, and as you were sort of talking there, and reunions. You go back to high school or college reunions, and you see the people. And one of the things to me that is always remarkable is there's those who kind of are where they were 5 years ago. They're still kind of doing the same thing. They're just kind of maybe, and then there are those who are very, very different people. And those who are different to me are fascinating. And then you start talking to them and you find out it's because they have made the decision every day that they're going to move forward, whether they know they made that decision or not. And whether they can talk about it, you don't know, but you know that they have, because they're completely different people than they were when you saw them 5 years earlier, than where they were 5 years before that, and definitely than where they were when you were in high school. So there you go.
Yes, and that was a long damn time ago for the two of us.
Yes, it was.
We're not even going to talk about what reunion number we'd be looking at right now. Yeah, that's cool. I think I'm good with the number, man, because I like where I am now, and the things that have occurred as a result of that time that keeps on moving. And let's bring more of it, man.
You betcha. We're going to keep moving forward on this podcast, and folks that are listening, especially those who are listening early, take a minute to subscribe to our YouTube channel and pass the word, pass it on to others, so that our audience can continue to grow. And we love doing this. We hope you do too.
Yes. And it does. It continues to grow. And, I love the conversations that we have, and I'm delighted that we're able to share them with other people, and that people get something out of it. What more can you ask for? Other than being sitting on that beach right now. Yeah, that would be nice.
Yes. And probably within 15 minutes, I'll be right back there.
Yeah. You going to wear your Speedo out there again?
I do have a Speedo. I do
traumatize the other beach
have
goers.
one, and I look amazing in it.
Oh, that's funny.
You got to give people something to talk about, right? That's what you got to do.
Right. Oh yeah. They're definitely talking about it. Counseling. Yeah, they're talking to people about it.
I'm from Europe.
Yeah, no doubt. Completely acceptable there. We are prudish.
Absolutely.
We're very much prudes as far as people go in the grand scheme of the world, right? But well, I'm glad you're having fun walking around with your Speedo. That's good. That's
absolutely
a visual I'm having a tough time shaking. All right. Well, you have a great rest of your work/vacation experience down there, and look forward to seeing you when you get back to the Berg.
Thank you, Bryant. Yep, we'll be back in a few days, and thanks for indulging me on the different time and place for the podcast. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah, you are certainly welcome. So as we wrap this up, I'd like to remind everybody, as we always do, no matter who you are, where you are, and if you're lucky enough to be at the beach like Kevin, make sure you take time between this podcast and the next to enjoy
the ride.
All right, that delay got us.
The Gray Beard Chronicles. Please subscribe so you'll receive notification when new episodes are available. To learn more about the Graybeards, visit their website, graybeardchronicles.com.